In this episode, by using parallel perspective or isometric, we want to design a landscape together. As for the first thing, we start designing the main area. Like this. If you have a building or other type of details, we can add next to it as well. So we are adding this part to the main site, like this. And now that we have this, if you have some stairs or upside down in our plan, we can add it as well. Maybe even some slope. For example, this part of our land is placed a little lower than usual. So we cut here, and here we start drawing some stairs. The first one, then a landing, and then a second one. And next to another space, we draw our stairs with 30-degree angle. Bring it down as the height of it, like this, and we have it. So our place came here, and from this part, look, we want to bring it more forward. And we can add some stairs downwards. Very smoothly, because in this size you can't see it correctly. So be at ease, but you need to get the slope for your stairs correctly. Now let's add some more details at the top area here. Maybe a movement here, we can go inside. An arc here. And look now, I want to do something interesting. 1, 2. Here, same thing on the other side. They need to be the same size. And here also. Now connect these together. Next one, and next one. We forgot one of them, and the one that is in front, and the next one here. Whenever you do some mistake, try to correct it. It's never too late. And here we've added outdoor amphitheater, and above our amphitheater we bring this part up. We're gonna make it structure, half a circle. There it could happen higher as well, but from this side, like this, we can connect it to the corners. And we can create a tent like a structure. So like that, we were able to create the motion and movement inside it. It's okay if you can see underneath it. It's actually good that we can see both of them together, the structure and our amphitheater. Now, as we did that, let's add another ring behind it. And the ring behind it can be greenery, or we can put some water inside it. We can bring this area forward through the pathway. Here, I want to create a fountain. So we can divide this to 3. From the middle here, we can move outwards, and the other one move inwards. So 3 arcs like this. connect it from the other side, bring it down, and now give them some thickness by adding some lines parallel to the upper one. Like that. And here we're going to create some fountain. And one thing that will happen is that, imagine that we are standing in front of it. I want to move this part inside as well. And around the edge here as well. Send it down a bit. In the middle, you can plant something if you want. Maybe a tree in the middle of this fountain. And from here, water can fall down. And the bottom area can be something geometrical or with natural lines. Maybe we can use the same circle that we did and not make something super complicated. And next to it, let's add some flooring which moves with the same circle. And we can divide it by using the center of the inner circle. And as you can see, it's just happening on the go. Nothing is planned. And I'm just imagining the stuff and putting them on the paper. Look, create some pathways in some areas. And here you can plant some trees. Same thing can happen next to it as well. When we are coloring it, we can add more details to it. And here is the tree in the middle of the fountain. And as for these parts, I'm gonna add more details when we are coloring it. Now, the path that we have here, which now that this part that we have is geometric, we can create a path with some natural lines here. Maybe you can go back and forth. And next to it, we need to add another line parallel to it to show that it's a pathway. So we just create something very smooth. And next to it, we can have something else as well. So we have some general shapes inside our plan, and we can add more details next to it. Now, as we have these, we can create some pergola on top of it. And a movement on top of it like this. Again, some more here. So we created a path like that. And next to it, let's add some trees. This part is connected to the other one. And if we have a continuation of a path, we can show and have it here. A very smooth path to the other side, like that. So these two paths are happening exactly next to each other. And maybe we can send some areas higher and create some topography, like the middle parts that have something planned inside it can be higher than the rest of the side plan. So we have these areas and some more plans behind this theater, and this area we want to place some water inside it. As we color it, it will be more understandable. And now let's see what's gonna happen next to it. Let's imagine an area here. Like this, and around it we can draw it like that, and as we do that we can connect these paths to those, like this. So our complex is shaping, and now next to it we have some line here and another line there. We have these lines, and this one can be a building that we have in this corner. In this area, parallel to this one, we can have another one. Like this. If you like, we can draw it on this side as well, or we can leave it as it is. For example, if you want to have it, this area needs to go up, like that. Send it out. This one comes here. So, this is a building. Now, let's draw some lines here. If you have some trees, we can add it as well. And again, in the side areas, it's the same story. And these buildings needs to happen next to each other. And we need to draw it completely and to have something like this next to it. Do the lines for your pathways so they are more visible. Now let's add more detail to the areas that we already created. Here we can create another box, and this part can be the continuation of our building. Pay attention as it's happening like this. And now, with the stuff that we have here, we can add more details. Maybe some plants here. Another part goes up. Maybe if we have some topography, we can show it there as well. On this side, same thing. Some bushes. So for each one of the spaces that we have, we need to add details like this. And from this area that we are entering this part, we can consider two sides as water and have the middle as our pathway. So these two are our water pole, and the middle is our pathway. Now, let's draw some details on this. If you want to make this out of stone, you can add the texture for it as well. Maybe because it's too far away from us, we can show it by just some hatching. And now let's see what is happening inside this square. We can bring it higher a little bit. We could bring it down like that. We can create something very simple inside it. So we just created something like this in our square. And as much as you add details to the areas that you have here, your representation and your sketching will be much better, and the end result will be much better, because you're showing what is happening here. So details equals better end result. And let's add some details on the building to see how it can help us. And we are creating a very different landscape. We can show the flooring, details on the building. We can add details next to the street, some lights here. The scale of this is really small. Later on, I'm gonna do something more zoomed in, which can have more details. But these type of perspective can serve its own purpose. And pay attention to how it's happening as I'm adding details to these areas. Let's add some more detail, maybe some flooring that needs to be seen. Like this. We divide them and we add them. Some of them can be green and some of them not. For the rest of the area, we can do the same thing. So we're doing this in order to show the flooring like that. And the continuation of this path like this as well. Let's add some trees here. And our plan is shaping, slowly and bit by bit. Now, let's pick up color number 76 and add some blue color on this fountain and on the water area. And this is gonna occupy a huge part of our design. And as we're coloring it and we are showing the volume, and the topography in our design, it can be seen much better. In this square, now let's move to our greenery. For our greenery, we can use some light color to do the highlight, and then we can add more shades later on. And as we're adding these green highlights, as you can see, it's really helping. But it needs to be processed later on with darker shades. Maybe some green colors in our square as well. These areas here as well. And as we're adding these, you can see the rest of the design much better. And doing this will make the rest of the design more understandable. So we've added some highlight, and don't forget the water above our amphitheater. Like this. This area also. Now let's move to a darker green, or actually let's do these areas before doing that. We show these here also. We have two more blue areas that we need to color. Like this, we showed this area also. Now for a part of our flooring, we could even make it out of wood and add some brown color to it. And here we could make it out of wood. Like this. And for another part, maybe in our amphitheater as well, we could make the tent darker and color the rest of the area. We can add C series to add some color on our tent. And just like that, the tent is more visible. And these pergolas, we can add some highlights on them as well. Here, we can add some highlight from darker colors to lighter colors. Next to the water, and I'm just gonna add this simple color for the trees as well. We can add another green color on them later on if you want to. And the part that is down here, because the tent is casting shadow on it, we can make it darker. And these simple things can help our sketching a lot. Let me pick up my green color to color these areas randomly. And as for the rest of it, we can use the CG color. So as we did this, after that we could add another layer of highlight on the green areas. And in some areas, on the buildings that we did before, we can use a CG color. We need to keep adding and keep processing the details that we did. And as much as we do them, it will look better. And as you can see, we're adding these darker shades here in different areas. Now let's see what we can use here. Maybe 235. Maybe this is too dark. But maybe we can use it in some areas. So here, in some areas, we can add this color. In the back areas, or in some areas that we want to make it bolder, it's better to make them darker. It will show the object better, and it will show the objects around that better by creating a contrast. Here also. Here adding this color. On the trees at the bottom, here. And as we've added a general color to it, it looks much better. Maybe we should add more gray color inside that design. So I'm going to pick up a CG color like this, and I'm going to add it to some areas. So we can use CG color to show the path, to make them darker, and to separate it from the rest of the design. So this CG color could show us the path that we have and even the buildings that we have. And this will make our greenery to look better. Like this. So we did a basic color with this gray one. Now let's add some green color for these areas as well. And we can use the darker shade on this green space as well. Now, it wouldn't be too bad to use CG number 5 or even 6 to add some darker colors inside that design. So we can use it like this on the buildings. Maybe we can add even more details on the buildings that are further away from us. The square that we have, shadows for the tree. And on the objects that we need to put more emphasis on, we can add the shadow or make them darker like this. Some edges and the shadows that they're casting on one another. Deeper part here. And as we add these, it will give life to our sketching. Shadows next to the tree, the left side of this area, on our stairs. Also, underneath the stand, we can make it darker to show the shadow. At the top part, next to these trees, also on the floor. So this just happened like that. Now on the building that is back there, we can bring the most of it with the same color. Nothing is going to happen if we don't even color it, but preferably I like to add details here as well. So this complex looks really nice. And if you like, you can add some more highlight here and there or some stains of color randomly on your sketching to make it look even better. So I'm going to add this green color in some areas as well. Now let's start adding some figure inside the design. Let's show the flooring here, and I'm sure doing that will make it look better. Now let's add some figures here, and the figures that we add here will give scale to our design. So when we do this, we are dictating how big or how small the design is. And as you add your figures, make sure to add a little shadow on bottom left. And next to this that we did this and we add a detail, we can add furniture or do a layout and highlight some area or zoom in one part. We could do all of that as well. Because it's isometric, the size of all of them is the same. If you want to add a car or something similar, you can use the same technique. Which means we can add a box here and add our design inside it. And we can show the general shape of the vehicle by using the box like this. So you can add stuff like these as well to make your perspective look more alive. So this can be used for landscape architecture, city design, and similar stuff. And we can keep working on the details that we have here, or change some details, or enhance some of them. In general, the end result is very pleasant. And this is a good site plan, and it can show a part of a city. I'm not really concerned about the accuracy of the design. That's your job to do. Here we are basically working on sketching, and we are learning how to show our ideas. So by using this, we want to, for example, when we are designing something, we want to be able to show it and to represent it in the best way possible. So when you're drawing something and when you're working on something, you need to master these type of thing in order to bring your ideas out. Sometimes seeing your ideas on the paper can make you change your mind about some parts and correct your design. And here, always remember, we can use very dark colors inside our design. And after doing that, we can add some white colors to add some contrast. I'm not gonna make all of the plants darker. I'm just gonna add darker color to some areas. But don't overdo it, so you don't do any damage to your sketching. And as you can see, we're adding these highlights. And after this, we can add some lines and add some white color inside our sketching. So we can get some help from this white color to show some of these plants better, like this. And as you can see, as we do this, these plants are much more visible. We can even add some white color on our water as well. Maybe some darker blue on the water. So we can create some movement inside it. In general, try to draw the things that you have in mind and make sure to send them to me if I can correct them, and if I can offer any help, we can do that together. So in general, we used the isometric technique and we were able to design the whole thing just so easily.